Hi again then guys, and so we've got another Special Projects replica tune for you today, and this is pretty much a replica which I've wanted to make for a long time for you guys. Not specifically this replica as such, but what I mean is that I am a massive fan of the Cobra in all of its forms. The 289, the 427, the Daytona, the Super Coupe, all of them. I absolutely love the Cobra. And I wanted to make pretty much any replica of it that I could, but the problem was they didn't really feel worth making replicas of because many of the Cobra variants have only slight changes. But I managed to find a Cobra which is genuinely different and worthy of making a full-scale replica of, and it is the ultra-rare 1964 Shelby Cobra 427 flip-top. And this is very similar visually to the standard 427, slightly more racing look to the front end, which obviously we can't achieve on the game. But overall the body is very similar. It has the racing number 98 in the circle, which you'll need to fit that if you want it to be close to the actual car. And it actually does look very similar to the real car. And as far as the visual setup, it's actually a very simple one to achieve with this car, because the only visual change I've made to the car is to remove the chrome bumpers. That's literally it. The wheels are stock because they look the most accurate to the real ones, and the colour, as you can see, is the standard Cobra Guardsman blue with the white stripes. Now, that's the part of this replica which is not so good news, because if you already own a Cobra that is not in this colour and you want to make an accurate replica, you can't, because if you haven't got it in this colour and you try and repaint it, you don't get the stripes. So in order for me to make this replica, I had to buy the Cobra again for another $500,000 just to get the right colour. So it depends really how committed you are to getting this replica right and how much you're a fan of the car. For me, I love it. But for you, of course, I can't say. But to get it as accurate as possible, you do need that colour, because that is the colour of the flip-top Cobra. Now, what is the flip-top Cobra? Well, it's a more racing-focused Cobra, and basically the reason why it's called the flip-top is because instead of having the normal bonnet and boot lids that open as a normal car, the entire front and rear sections of the car hinge open like a dragster for easy access to the mechanicals. Obviously we can't achieve that on the game, not that it makes much of a difference anyway, but that's the reason why it's called the flip-top. The power is a lot more on the flip-top, and it's far lighter than the standard Cobra. So, as I said, there's no real need to show you what I've done visually, because all I've done is remove the chrome bumpers and fitted a 98 on the side. So we'll go straight to the garage for the mechanical setup, and then out to the track to see how it performs. So for the setup on this Cobra, obviously it's more of a racing spec Cobra, so we've gone for the racing soft tyres, but obviously you should go for whichever ones you use usually. For the brakes, we've increased the front to 6, lowered the rear to 4. For the ride height, we've got that on 90, front and rear. Springs, we've stiffened up to 650 and 725. Dampers to 4, anti-roll to 5. Surprisingly low camber, perhaps, on 2. The reason for that is because I want to keep the car a little bit challenging to drive, just to make it more fun. Neutral toe, as always. For the gearbox, we've got an auto setting of 180. Then for the individual gears, we've got 3.5, 2280, 1625, 1225, and 950 with a final drive of 2.9. Incidentally, the performance that it gives you overall is around the 210, 220 mile per hour region, which again is pretty accurate to the real car. Drivetrain-wise, we've got the lowest initial torque to reduce wheel spin off the line, of course, high acceleration and low braking. For the power, we do not have an oil change on this one, so you will need to factor that into how you set it up. You do not want the supercharger, because as far as I'm aware it's a naturally aspirated car. You want the stage 3 engine tune to raise up your RPM, the race exhaust for the same reason, and also for the visual look of the race exhaust, and your intake tuning, and then reduce the power down to 98.8% to bring us to the exact power of the real flip-top Cobra, which is 623 horsepower, which is crazy amount of power to have in such a lightweight car. You want both of your weight loss options, and this is where it's a little bit different to the real car, because the actual flip-top Cobra weighs 100 kilos less than this. It weighs about 813 kilos. So what we've done, seeing as it's so much heavier anyway, I've used that to our advantage and increased it by 13 kilos, putting that all the way to the front just to improve the weight distribution a little bit. So that's it for the setup of the car. Incidentally, it actually sits almost perfectly at the 575 pp level. Obviously it's not really a racing tune though, it's just a replica to have fun with, but it could potentially be a very competitive car on certain tracks. So that's it for the tune. Now let's take it out to the track to see how it performs. Now the handling on the Cobra, of course, is infamous for being challenging, especially to people who are less experienced at driving powerful, lightweight classic cars. But even to people who are professional drivers, the Cobra is still a car which is known for being challenging to get the best out of. But I have to say, this tune actually surprised me by just how good it is to drive. The fact that it's still naturally aspirated makes it feel really fun to me. I mean, again, that's just personal preference, but I like big, powerful, naturally aspirated cars. And the low weight just makes it so quick for acceleration and through corners. Obviously, being a Cobra, of course you can get the tail out, especially with such little weight grounding you. But the handling overall is shockingly good, I must say. The brakes do an excellent job, probably a better job than they did on the original car, to be honest. And the performance, as I said, is very good. The top speed is well over 200 miles per hour. The acceleration is, unsurprisingly for a car with well over 600 horsepower per tonne, very, very quick. And like I said, on a track with plenty of straight lines, it could potentially actually be a very competitive PP racer. But for those of you who do decide to fit this tune to your Cobra, I hope you find it fun and potentially competitive if you decide to use it for racing. And that's it for this build, so I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.